Whitehall, mate. Can't go wrong. G'day and good morning. Welcome to episode 60. We finally made it. Nearly 4 years and a lot of money, but we're there. Before we introduce our guest today, we've got to mention our fantastic supporters, Whitehall and Associates. Can't go wrong without them. I just gave some advice then. They do everything for you. Steve's leading the team. We've got wills, conveyancing, all forms of criminal law. Anything you can't do or you're not sure about, come to Whitehall, and if they can't do it, they will steer you in the right direction. They're a great Australian firm, great team, and they're fantastic supporters of us. We love Whitehall. We're actually getting a lot of good feedback, and a few comments now are coming through for Whitehall on the podcast. So we really appreciate everything you've done for us. You're a great mob, and thank you very much. One of the girls is coming in soon, and I'll mention you at the end of the show as well. It's number 60. We're going to meet her at the moment, and we'll see you shortly. Right, I'm back. Okay, good morning again. We've already done the episode 60. Yay, it's our big one today. 60, nearly 4 years, and we're very happy. We have our third lady guest on today. Lovely lady, very well known. She has a fantastic story. So did she commit crimes? No, but she's had crimes committed against her. Very young, a bit of a terrible family life, and we're going to go right through it and a whole life story and the redemption, and what she's doing today as well is amazing. She's a life coach, an author, a counsellor, and without further ado, good morning, Kerry Atherton. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us
Maccas.
today. You're very well known, Kerry. I'll put those down there. You've done a hell of a lot, and we really appreciate you coming in. She's come, viewers, from the lovely Sunshine Coast, so thank you very much again. We're going to get into it today. I'm going to give you a good run. About 45 minutes, viewers, we're going to do today. And basically start your story, your life, where you know, the whole thing. And as I said, it's a very interesting story. It's not so much crime, but crimes that have happened to you in your life. And in your own words, without further ado, again, hey, take it away, Kerry.
Thanks, Macca. Well, I was born on the North Shore in Sydney. Mm-hmm. The eldest daughter, the only daughter of two wonderful people, but two alcoholics.
Yeah.
And both my dad's parents died of alcoholism. His father was actually the conductor and violinist of the Tivoli in Sydney.
Wow.
Wrote all the music, you know, for Shirley Bassey and all the stars that came out from, you know, the States and everything. But unfortunately, a tragic story of alcoholism. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother, his wife, died of an overdose at 45, drugs and alcohol. And my dad was an only child. So he was an alcoholic as well. And when he passed away 7 years ago, he had 60 years sobriety through AA.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so it's definitely in the genes for me, and that's going to be very much part of my story. But my upbringing was wonderful and very, very sad. My parents really loved me and my two brothers. I've got one brother that's 14 months younger and another that's 3 years younger. Yeah. And I had three tragic events, which, and I want to really talk today too about the link to trauma and addictions, because it's very, very huge. Mm-hmm. And I've been sober through AA myself for 43 years now. Wow. And I've walked alongside thousands and thousands of people. Yeah. And the story is all very similar. You know, different levels of events. Some people end up losing their whole family. Some people end up killing people, end up in jail. A lot of people end up having traumatic events happen to them, but there's always this link back to trauma.
Yep.
And so that's something that I really talk about in my work that I do, and helping people shed shame. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really massive part of the healing journey.
Shame and blame, like, oh, it's my fault, sort of thing.
Yeah. And when I go into what happened to me at 9, well, I'll go straight into it now.
Sure.
But I had two traumatic events happen prior to that. And one was witnessing my mum being electrocuted when I was 7.
Oh, geez.
And she actually died and came back to life. But a terrible fear set in that day that I was going to lose my mum. Mm-hmm. and that I would lose anybody that was close to me. And something just really snapped in me that day. She came back from hospital and she had 2 scars from there to there on both wrists because the electric shock had done the full circle. And so I was 7 years old at that time, and then when I was 9, we were taken on holidays to Port Macquarie, and I was sexually molested by we found out, the adult son of the owner of the holiday cabins. And I remember that day so vividly. We arrived at the holiday cabins and I was swinging on the swings. And you know how you make friends with the kids in the cabins? You know, they're your best friends instantly, aren't they, at holiday parks and stuff like that. And I made friends with this girl, and within about half an hour she said, oh, there's my friend Max. And she said, I want to introduce you to my friend Max. And I saw this tall man standing there and the hairs stood up on the back of my neck. And I said, I don't want to meet him. And I had this
You got a feeling instantly,
instant intuition that there was something really bad about him. And the next morning it was my brother's birthday, and he was going to be turning 8, and I was standing in the carport with nobody else around, and it was a very rainy, dull day. And my family were in the room next to the carport, and I was standing on my own, and it had been raining, and I'm looking at this notice board which had different events around Port Macquarie, and I was really excited. I thought, I'm going to make this a really special birthday for my brother. And then I just felt something behind me, and I turned around, and I'm 9 years old. He's about 6 foot something, and I turned around and he's cornered me right in.
A bastard.
Yeah.
How old was he roughly, Kerry?
I reckon he must have been now maybe in his 20s or something.
Yeah.
Like, thinking back as a 9-year-old, you think that it's like a man, but I think he must have been in his 20s or something, and then he tried to sexually assault me and tried to have me do something to him, and then he must have been disturbed because all of a sudden he just left, but with the warning, don't tell anyone or
else,
you know. But my dad had taught me to fear everything.
Yep.
He grew up in the midst of extreme violence due to his mother. When his dad would come home from work late at night, he would string pots and pans up on the room outside, and they would sleep out on the veranda, and that was so they could hear her coming drunk.
Alarm type thing.
Yeah, and wake up, because often too, you know, she would try and, you know, throw knives at him, and found some doctor's reports when his auntie died, and I don't know why she had them, but he didn't have any other relatives alive at the time, and apparently his dad had hidden him in cupboards at times to protect him from his mum. And as a result of all that trauma, my dad lived with extreme PTSD and anxiety his entire life. Never got in a lift, in a plane.
Anxiety is a shocker. Yeah, it really is,
But what he did do at 80, and this is proof that anyone at any age can change, I never thought my dad would ever get on a domestic plane. And at 80, he got on a plane and flew up to Queensland for a surprise for my 50th birthday. But he was actually dying at the time, and he knew that he probably wouldn't get a chance to do that again. So, but that's just been such proof to every single one of my clients that I work with that say, oh, look, I can't change, that anybody can change at any age if they have enough determination and enough purpose.
Put that work in and,
Yeah, so my dad taught me to fear everything, and I grew up with contingency plans about all things. I was also being bullied at school at the same time as this event happened when I was 9. My mum was really struggling with depression, and my dad was working 2 jobs. He was a jazz musician and used to travel around and work at clubs and stuff like that. And at 10, I remember falling to my knees in the bedroom and I got under the bed because what had happened after the assault, we'd gone to the police.
I was thinking that. Did you speak to anyone? Or?
Yes, I got off track a little bit there, but my mum and dad took me straight to the police, and I had to relive what happened with 2 male police officers, and that was just...
And this is probably, what, early 80s? Early 80s, I suppose, something like that?
70s.
Yeah, late 70s. Yeah.
And definitely not ideal at all.
No.
And they kind of insinuated to my parents that this had happened before and that they knew who it was. And they told them then, we think it's the owner's son. And back in those days, you didn't have credit cards, so you gave your name, address and phone number.
Yep.
And so they did nothing. They said, the best thing that you can do for your daughter is not bring her back to Port Macquarie to have to face court cases because it's his word against hers. Yeah. And so just take her home and pretend nothing happened. So going home that day, the next day we packed up straight away, was an immense amount of shame. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was touching on before. It's something that I hear often with victims of sexual assault, and it's like this negative, false narrative sets in that there must be something wrong with me because this has happened to me, and then I'm damaged goods. And so I went home with this terrible feeling of shame and also fear, terrifying fear that because we'd been to the police that he was going to track me down and kill me because he had our address. So from that, I don't think I slept properly from that night. I didn't open a window in my bedroom until I was 25 years old at night. And I just lived in this little haven of terror in my bedroom. And the fear was just so debilitating, being bullied at school, the other trauma that I'd had, before that about losing my mum, and my little brother's best friend that was 4 years old had also been run over by a semi-trailer on our road and killed as well. And so I had this just intense fear. It was just so shocking, and I fell to the ground in my bedroom. I was lying there and I was just sobbing and I just couldn't stop crying, and my mum came in. Nothing sadder, for a parent to be holding their child and be so helpless that they just don't know what to do. Yeah. And my mum was in a helpless state herself. She was in the midst of her own problems, and
it stays with you all these years you're talking about now. It stays with you, the emotion, doesn't it? I mean, my gosh.
Yeah, that being a mum myself, that gets me, that part, Yeah. And so we had a family psychiatrist, as you do, as you do when you've got a lot of trauma in the family.
They're very popular these days.
Yeah, and he was I'm not going to say his name because it's an anonymous program, but he was actually a member of AA himself.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he understood the disease of addiction, and so he put me on anti-anxiety medication and antidepressants, and I thought, great, got an escape, and that's what victims of trauma need and want. They need an escape from reality, an escape from pain, and an escape from what we call in the 12-step rooms the theatre between the ears.
Yeah, right.
And mine just played horror movies 24/7. So when I look back at my childhood and really think about it, there was so many moments of joy and wonderful things, and we had great family times, and my mum and dad were really social. We used to have this band called the Daly Wilson Big Band back in the day come and jam at our house.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they'd actually asked my dad to be a member of that band, but because of his terrifying fear of getting on planes and boats, he could never travel around the world, so he had to turn that down. And everything, though, was just overshadowed by this just sinking feeling inside, that I had. And this just terror that I lived in. So the moments of joy that I had were just so temporary. Anyway, I went through, life, for the next 3 years, and I was also bullied by a teacher at school that had a nervous breakdown shortly after that for 6 months, and I started to become very overweight, and I was the biggest child in the class, and they used to call me like the school dork at the school, and she would make me stand up in front of all the class with my back to the class, and
Yep.
I'd have to stand with my hands on my head like this.
Humiliating.
Yeah,
Yep.
humiliated me day after day after day, and also caned me in front of the class. And so I was going to school facing that, and I developed a really terrible fear of public humiliation. And that's something that's really never left me, but I fight that today. I do it afraid.
Yeah.
And if I'm in a big group or something like that, and even public speaking, which I do as part of my job, it's something that I've really fought to overcome. And then 15, I found alcohol. So that was like the most amazing thing that ever happened to me.
With the medication. Yep.
Yeah,
Wow.
put the medication, there's only so many tablets that you can lose before your parents will get you another script. So I was trying to overdose, I was trying to abuse the medication because I just wanted more and more relief from the pain, And so 15, picked up my first drink, and something that I had always had this concept of was feeling like I never fitted in. And I felt like a raw exposed nerve. Felt
Was
like
that a sip out of your parents' couple of bottles at home out of their bar or something? Is that how it started, sort of?
Well, what happened was I was at home, and my brothers had knocked off a cask of wine from the Longueville cellars.
There you go.
Yeah, and it was summer, so they'd hidden it under the caravan across the road. and
Jeez.
and my depression was just so bad. I was actually suicidal most of my young life. And my mum and dad said, when I questioned them as an adult as to why they had me put on medication, and they said, because you were so depressed that we thought you might kill yourself. And this is as a child.
Yeah.
And so when I was 15 and picked up alcohol for the first time, I thought I just felt different. Like it coloured me in. And I felt normal, and I thought, this is the thing that's going to actually get me through life now. The pills, the pills do something, but alcohol
Back it
is
up with the
really...
booze and-
Yeah, so I drank the whole cask of wine, and I was really sick,
Yeah.
but I loved it, and I thought, this is my new best friend.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, had got my first boyfriend, and I destroyed that relationship with my alcoholism. Could never stop at one drink. Every time I picked up a drink from that point, I just wanted to get that glow that just took the edge off all the fear and the insecurity and the low self-esteem, because I hated myself and hated the way I looked. But there was always that switch that normal people have that says stop drinking.
Yes.
Just didn't work. And I'd end up paralytic, and I remember one night I woke up on a fence after going to someone's party, and, some of my buttons were undone, and there was these two guys sitting on the fence as well, and I'm like, who are you?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know where I was, and this was a regular occurrence. And my boyfriend had taken off. He'd obviously had enough and had begged me that night not to drink at the party. And I'm like, no, I'll just have a couple.
Just have a couple, yeah.
Just have a couple, And one night I walked out on the streets at Balmain drunk. I'd become aggressive and violent when I drank, and 4 Lebanese guys tried to drag me into a car, and I fought them off. And then my drinking and my life just quickly spiralled and deteriorated. My mum and dad had got sober by that stage, and I had the most immense support and love from them right through.
Yeah. So
They were wonderful
good,
parents.
Really, yeah.
Wonderful
Which
parents.
is a bonus, yeah.
But the thing is, we're all just products of our own upbringing.
Absolutely.
And the only role models that they had were the ones they had, which were poor. And so
That's very true, yeah.
at 17, I had a string of relationships, and they just got worse and worse. After I broke up with that guy that I was with for 15 months, who was really the love of my life back then, I said to my mum, I'm going to get someone heaps better than him. And then within 3 months I was going out with the brother of the head of the Gypsy Joker bikie gang.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember one night he took me to the annual, I think it was at Windsor, bikie meet-up, where every gang you can imagine is there. And within...
How old were you, Kerry? You were...
I was 17
17-ish?
or... Yes, it just turned 17, I think then, or late 16, yeah. And I remember having a few drinks and then waking up to this kid screaming, "Dad, Dad, there's a dead person out the front." And luckily I'd collapsed outside of a bikie who was there with his family. Yeah, right. So that there was a whole lot of gangs, the Hells Angels and, everyone. Yeah. But then there was this couple of these family bikies, that were there, and he picked me up and he carried me like this from group to group, asking who owned me. And I tell you, someone was looking out for me that day because anything could have ended up happening, and I got back to where I was meant to be. Yeah. And that's, just one of the many incidences. But then I spiralled very quickly, and then at 17 I had had enough of all these bad guys that I'd been hanging out with, and I got to the stage, because I had such low self-esteem and just felt like I was such damaged goods, that whoever would have me, I would settle for that, because I didn't think that I deserved anyone that treated me well. And I really had that belief, but what I really wanted was to just find somebody that treated me well and loved me and cared for me. You. Yeah, so I was going to the Catholic church. I was brought up as a Catholic, and they had a coffee morning after one of the morning services, which was a new thing that they were trialling. And I met this guy there, and he seemed really nice and asked me out on a date. And the first date that we went out on, he bought all this wine, and I got drunk, and then he said to me that he was going to drive me out to beside the university in Sydney, and this is at 1 o'clock in the morning, and rip my clothes off and rape me. And I thought, surely that's not going to happen, that this must be like a bad dream or something. And I said, can you please just take me home, and then we got in the car, and then my heart sank when we weren't going in the direction of my house. And that's exactly what happened. And he was probably like a massive guy, about 6'2". There was absolutely no way to fight him off.
Did he know about your alcohol problem or no? Do you think he intentionally sort of just got you wasted? And
yeah.
Did he know?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And and so I went home. He actually drove me home. Thank goodness he just didn't leave me there, because some girls just get left there and killed and never see anybody again. But he drove me home, but I just sobbed the whole way home, and the immense shame that I felt was just, I can't explain it. And he opened the car door and said, "Now get out," like I was just a filthy, useless...
Did he threaten you, like the previous...
No, but he was just like, get out, like I was just like a dirty piece of meat. And then I got out of the car and I went down and I showered myself, and I washed myself for about half an hour to try and wash all the germs off me, and I just felt absolutely the lowest that I have ever felt in my life. And I thought there was no justice when I was 9.
Yeah.
That there's no point in telling anyone. So I kept it a secret. I didn't tell anyone. And I just walked around for the rest of my life, actually, until I was about 50, feeling that I was less than and not
it's
worthy.
Consuming you, sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I carried that narrative, from 9 years old. But from that rape at 17, I carried that narrative that I was a worthless piece of crap. And nothing I could do, on the outside, I loved makeup and fashion and that, but nothing I could do could make that go away or make me feel any more whole or anything like that. And at 18, I had another boyfriend, which was, worse than the others, but I thought I'd known him from Atherton.
Yeah.
And he had an alcoholic dad, so we would the trauma bonding, you know, and that was probably what most of the boyfriends were. The trauma bonded with other people that had been through trauma, that it was just as dysfunctional as me. And we went away on a holiday to Queensland, and we were sitting in the caravan park in the waiting room, and he punched me in front of families with little kids.
Jeez.
And coming back from that holiday, just the reinforcement of how worthless I was, that, you know, nobody would ever value me, nobody would ever love me, and I just became so hopeless, you know, a couple of days after that I planned to end my life. And I was standing in the kitchen, and I thought, oh, thank you.
No worries. Yeah.
I was standing in the kitchen, and I was determined this day to go through with it. And, you know, the thing was, and I hear this all the time, and I say this as well to clients, people that become suicidal, they don't really want to die.
No.
They just don't know how to live anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
And I didn't know how to live anymore. You know, I had no... I mean, I had my parents' support, but I was carrying all this shame because they didn't know about what had happened. And
shame and guilt and things. It wasn't your fault.
no, that's right.
It's not your fault.
Yeah. And I want to say that to everyone that's listening. You know, there's so many people out there that have been raped or sexually assaulted or had crimes committed against them. And so many guys that have experienced sexual assault, but the shame that they carry as a result of that just keeps them trapped like a prisoner.
Yep.
You know,
100%.
and these are the people that I help them shed the shame with my coaching and my counselling, and when I speak and share my story, because that shame, and I realise that is never theirs to carry.
Yeah.
And I realise that now it was never mine to carry.
That's right. It's from the bastard that did these things to you. That's the ones, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so at 18, I'm standing in the kitchen, and just when I was going to do this, I heard this loud voice say, don't do it. If you hang on a bit longer, you'll find happiness one day. And I'd been disconnected from my faith, but I really felt that that was God saving my life that day, giving me a second chance.
Yep.
In the midst of all my filth and guilt and shame and everything like that, you know, I heard this voice that said, I'm giving you another chance. And I had actually had an overdose about 6 months before that, where I'd actually scored, you know, some drugs, and I didn't usually do that. That was a one-off thing, and they must have been bad. And I mixed them with the pills and the alcohol. And I remember watching my body on the floor of the Bonito's nightclub at North Sydney.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I was just begging God to let me live. And I said, if you let me live, I'll go home and I'll tell my parents the exact extent of my addiction,
Where I'm at and,
how fast my addiction's progressed, how bad things really are. Because I still hide. I was hiding bottles under the bed every night and stuff like that. You know, I was drinking daily, and I did tell them. And but then I went on to have these other experiences, and everybody has to get to their own rock bottom, and this was my rock bottom. Fortunately, at 16, when I first started drinking, my dad saw the signs and he said, I think you're an alcoholic. And I'm like, don't be ridiculous. You know, I'm 16 years old. I couldn't be. But when I went into those 12-step rooms, I saw older members, and they would all point at me and they'd say, I wished I found this when I was your age, because if I did, I wouldn't have lost my family. I wouldn't have ended up in that mental ward. I wouldn't have ended up losing my kids. I wouldn't have ended up killing that person. I wouldn't have ended up blacking out and marrying another stranger in another country when I already had a wife in Australia. You know, all these stories. I wouldn't have ended up in the psych ward. And this stuff just stayed in the back of my mind, and I thought, they're all the yets that wait for me if I keep drinking. And so after my planned suicide, that night, after I heard the loud voice, I went to AA that night, and
you were about 18 at
I was
stage?
18.
So you've had 3 years of full on.
And I just knew that was it. I knew that there was no other chance for me. This was my last stop, and that if I didn't stop drinking and taking, prescription medication as an addiction, that I would never see my 21st birthday. And the will to live reignited for me that night in the AA meeting.
Yep.
And I haven't had a drink since.
Yeah, wow.
That's been
how many years
43 years now. So,
congratulations, fantastic. Yeah.
And I was one of the two youngest people in the room.
Yep.
So it was very, very hard, because I thought, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Everyone my age is out partying and having a great time, and as good as it's going to get for me is going to meetings every single night and going to the movies.
Yep. Yeah.
I was like devastated. But it beat the alternative. And that was dying from addictions.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the first week I stepped into a relationship with a person in AA who'd been sober for 3 years, but told me that they were going really well. And they took me on a guided tour in the first couple of weeks of their family home and showed me all the holes that they'd punched in the walls. And they said, but I've changed.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And so we went out for about 4 months, and then he was banned from my family home because he told my mum to F off. And I didn't see that really as a warning sign because, you might say...
Great start, but yeah. Yeah.
You might go, well, how could you not see that as a warning sign? But I always wanted to believe the best in people and that people could change. And I thought maybe he was just having a really bad day. And then, so we moved in together. And he love-bombed me in the first 4 months, as controllers and abusers do, and bought me flowers all the time, took me to restaurants, couldn't say enough, compliments, and made me feel like I was special for, really the first time.
Sounding like an early stage of a narcissist or something.
That's right,
yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long before he started smashing my belongings, and the day he beat the ironing board to a pulp in front of me because I was crying about something was a massive wake-up call. And we didn't have all this talk about domestic violence back then, and it was something that was really hidden. And when he was 70s and 80s, it was huge. Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
I just get carried away with it. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you go. It's your interview.
No, I want your story. It's not about me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember all the shame came back because he would scream at me and call me an effing cunt and all these disgusting names day in and day out. He had a really chronic pornography addiction, and he would go up to King's Cross behind my back and be watching shows and stuff like this, and
the strippies and
the
girls
and that just, for anybody with that addiction, it reinforces to your partner that you mustn't be good enough.
You're not adequate enough.
That's right. And I started to get this sense of urgency after about 2.5 years that I should get out. And I started, to say a couple of prayers because I feel like that things were really escalating and ramping up. And we lived in a small unit, and every time I'd open the front door, I would see the people across there, their blinds would all go up. And it was like they were thinking, oh, here she comes, she's coming out the door. Because they'd heard all the abuse, but nobody ever came to help me. Nobody asked if I was okay. He'd isolated me from my family, from my friends. I didn't have a licence, and I went to work.
They completely isolate you.
Totally, yeah.
They're thinking, we're sorry, but we don't want to get involved. Yeah, so, yeah.
And there was this one day where we were going out to the shops, and in those days leading up to that, I felt real warning signs going off, and I started saying a prayer, please give me the opportunity to get out of this, And we were driving along, and as we were driving along, our lease was actually up in about, 3 or 4 weeks or something, and he said, I found us a unit to move into. And I felt like the voice that God, the voice of God for me, it was, this is the time. Yep. This is the moment that you can deliver the message that you're going to leave. So I waited till the car had stopped, and I had one leg out the door, and I'd opened the door, and I turned to him, because what had happened was, as we were leaving that day too, I don't know if I looked at him the wrong way or something, but he put his hand up to hit me across the head, and I knew this was the day I had to get out.
Yep.
Otherwise, I might not get out.
You've got that strength, and
Yeah. And I said, and I put my hand on the car door, and I said, "I'm not moving in with you. I'm leaving." And I ran, and as I ran, he's screaming at me, "You better get your effing stuff out. By the time I'm home, you've got 2 hours like this." And I rang my brothers, and they came quickly and got most of my stuff out.
Yep.
And I prayed that I'd never, ever lay eyes on him again. And he lived in my hometown, and I have never seen him to this day.
Yeah, good. The
And so-
card disappeared.
Yeah, and so I got free, you know, from that. And I knew in my mind the type of person that I wanted to end up with,
Yep.
but I didn't think I deserved someone like that. And 6 months later, I met a guy named Martin, and this other abuser was a Martin as well.
Oh, dear.
But this Martin was an absolute, you know.
He was the guy.
He was the guy.
There you
And
go.
we're married. We've been married for
Excuse me.
38 years now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
My
And
God, what a rough trot that was. Like, yeah.
I know. And you know, it's been a tough journey still, because recovering from trauma, sometimes it's a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
But I've recovered from a lot, you know, and this is something that I say to anybody that's battling addictions, because even now, after all this time, when I lie down in the afternoon to try and have a sleep, my mind is trying to piece things back together again from all those 3 or 4 years that I lost, you know.
Yeah.
There's so many blackouts that I had and things I can't remember. And a couple of years ago, I came to this resolution that life for a recovering alcoholic or addict remains like an unsolved jigsaw puzzle, and one where the pieces can never be put back together again. But a beautiful new jigsaw puzzle can be made.
Oh, 100%. Well said. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's fantastic. I mean, what an amazing story, and you have come out. So you're still with Martin today. He's the one.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
that's lovely. And you've had
Got two children.
2 children.
Yeah, so
or
they're
young adults.
Yeah,
Yeah.
31 and 35.
On the beautiful Sunshine Coast.
Yes, and 2 beautiful granddaughters that are nearly 13 and nearly 15.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's always with you, you know.
Yeah.
But you came out of it, you know. You came out of it, and your faith, I think, a little bit from that voice that
That's
time,
right.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, good on you.
And you know, Macca, I've broken the cycle of
Yep.
addiction for my family.
Yeah.
My kids don't suffer from addictions.
Did it with your faith and going to that, and you know, when you got rid of us, it just got easy? It got easy for you?
It got
it's
ea-
hard,
it got-
but for a while it's sort of like, you're healed for now sort of thing? Is that, I'm just taking a shot?
It got easier, you know, like
Yeah.
what I felt was that I just had this comfort and peace with
Yep.
me, you know. And something that I struggled with my entire life was loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
And loneliness itself is a killer,
Oh,
you
100%.
know. But with my faith, you know,
You're never alone.
That's right. You know, and I've been let down by people so often in my life, and but I've always, because I've had a faith, I've always had something there, you know, and which has combated that loneliness and given me the strength to go on, because, you know, that's only one part of my story. You know, I have a very extensive grief journey after I moved to the Sunshine Coast, where I lost my mum and dad, and they died of, my mum died of cancer not long after I moved, and my dad died of last stages of emphysema, and there's just so much grief attached, you know, to that time. My husband became really, really ill after my dad died and was diagnosed with osteoporosis and told that he had the bones of an 85-year-old.
Oh, jeez.
But for a long time we couldn't find out what was wrong with him, and he got down to 65 kilos, and my dog of 16 years was put down just after that. And then
That's gut-wrenching as well. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my son, who was my number one support person, moved to Sydney to find work. just after that as well. And I'd also lost, aunties and uncles and a cousin in a motorbike accident and my grandparents, and it just all went bang, 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 one thing after another, It seemed like this absolute 8 years of hell.
Yeah.
And I describe it now as a trauma trigger tsunami.
Yes, right.
But you know what? In all the rock bottoms that I've had, so I had the rock bottom when I was 9.
Yep.
All the rock bottoms have led to something greater. The rock bottom when I was 9 led me to finding medication and help to keep going. The rock bottom at 18 led me to my recovery.
Yes.
And then the rock bottom, the greatest rock bottom of ever, which was this last one after my parents had died, that was about 8 years ago.
Yep.
And it led me to my greatest purpose ever. And that was creating stories of hope.
Yeah.
Which is
helping people. And you've learnt to live. Like you said earlier, now you have learnt to live.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. I mean, we're running a little short on time now, but I'd like to ask you, where are you at today? I know what you're doing, and you've got a huge following. You're very popular.
Yeah.
And how's it all going? Your life coaching, you're an author. I mean, give us a little bit about that, where you're at today. And any of your, before we go to, any of you want to mention any of your social media and things like that, please do.
Okay.
I mean, we've just chipped on the iceberg of your amazing story.
I
really.
know.
But where are you at now? You did learn how to live, and like you said, you didn't want to die. And so many don't want to die. You know what I
that's
mean?
right.
I've seen a lot of death, and with things I've done.
Yeah.
And the look of a lot of people with suicide, the look of regret, is really it's sad. And like you say, you hung in there. And I think that's really important that you did,
Yeah, and suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
100%.
And that's something I want everyone to know.
Yes.
You just don't know what great thing lies around the corner tomorrow. And I found that out, and I'll be quick with this because I know we are short on time.
No worries at all, please.
But when I hit the rock bottom 8 years ago, I forced myself after 6 months of locking myself away in a dark depression out to a women's conference, and I heard 3 people sharing their stories. And I had this light bulb moment, and I had been desperately searching for a person that had been through the amount of trauma that I had and come out the other side, and grief and everything put together. And I couldn't actually find that person. And I thought in that conference, I'm going to become that person for other people. Mm-hmm. And that day, my greatest purpose ever was birthed. And I thought I'm going to start this organisation called Stories of Hope Australia, where I have events every month and I have 2 people share their story of overcoming hard times, of all different stories. And together, we can transform the community, maybe Australia and maybe even the world. It was a big dream.
It's fantastic.
And since then, I've held hundreds of events. I've now got a podcast called Stories of Hope, Inspirational Humans with Kerry Atherton. I've written 4 books, do a lot of work with men's mental health, and work with people of all walks of life, women and men. Done a lot of extensive work with the homeless, with young people in schools. And, you can find me at www.storiesofhope.com.au.
Can people purchase your books too?
They sure
Kerry?
can, yeah. And the first 2 books have got the stories of 12 stories in each of some of the incredible men and women who have spoken at the events. And then the 3rd book, Light Bulb Moments Through the Eyes of Men, is the book launch that you came to. And that's...
We did, and I forgot. I think we both forgot. As we were talking a while ago, it was like, hang on, I went to your book launch out at Ashfield there. And
that's right.
That was a lovely night,
Yeah, and that book's got the stories of 15 men from all around the world. And their ages are from 22 to 82, and our good friend John Kellick, the ex-bank robber who was famous for the helicopter escape in Silverwater Jail.
That's our man,
Yeah, he's in the book as well. So amazing stories, and that book is for any man who's gone through anything and feels like they don't know which way is up. So it's all about the light bulb moment that pulled these guys from their darkest time and the purpose that they found to go on.
Yes.
And the amazing things that they've done with their life because they did hold on for another day.
Yeah. Oh no, it's terrific. I've read some. I haven't finished. I'm not going to lie. I haven't finished.
That's okay.
But you signed it for me too. But I have read some of that, and you're just doing amazing stuff today. Yes. So as I said, we're going to be wrapping up shortly. John couldn't be with us today, but he will be next week. He's in Melbourne. See a few people down there. Next week, we're hitting the bricks again, and we're back out on location. We hadn't done a studio one for a while, and we were just honoured to have our third lady guest in today, Kerry. So we'll be back out on the old school crime very shortly, probably within a week and a half. I know what we're doing, but we'll save it as a surprise. It's going to be a huge one. So. Also, Kerry, today, we said earlier where you're at and all that, but where are you at today? Where is you're continuing this positivity. We've spoken a bit about you've got a great family. Your son's in Sydney.
Oh, he's moved back to Queensland
he's back
now.
to the sunny
with
Queensland.
his wife, that was
and
one
you've
of the
got
great.
grandkids
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was one of the happiest days of my life when I got that call to say he was coming back home.
And look, you're flat out with life coaching. You're flat out. You're doing conferences and things, and I imagine.
Writing a coaching package now and trying to develop my own podcast, which I've probably.
I've listened to a few. You've done quite a few.
I love that. I guess my biggest thing is I get up every morning and I'm like, whose life can I touch today?
Yeah.
Whose life can I bring hope to today? And I think kindness is just one of the most important gifts that we can give to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know behind anyone's facade who is struggling.
Yes.
And it can often be people that we least expect that can be struggling the most.
Oh, absolutely.
And
we're in a crazy world.
We are.
We're in a mad world at the moment, and there's so many people with problems.
And lack of connection is actually the biggest problem that we are facing as a society.
And talk about it.
So that's right. Yeah. Connection and purpose. I can't talk about those two things enough for helping bring someone out of the brink.
Yeah.
Whether it's you dragging yourself out or you helping someone else out. Get connected, get other people connected, be kind and find a purpose. And the greatest thing that message that I want to get out there today is the power of connection and the power of finding a purpose. We as a society are struggling with loneliness and disconnection like never before. And it's the greatest tool to pull someone out of the darkness, whether it's yourself, pulling yourself out of the darkness, get connected, reach out for help. Whether it's a friend, it doesn't matter who it is, just reach out. Or whether it's to help someone else get connected, and finding a purpose. When we have a purpose, we have a vision and we have a goal for the future. Doesn't matter how small that is, we all need a purpose and connection. It's the two things that I talk about the most as helping somebody find hope and find recovery from trauma.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
So there you go, Maccas.
No, it's fantastic. And it also has a lot to do with the last one we did, wasn't it, Marcus? Denise as well. And we said there as well what you just said. When in doubt, shout out. There is help there.
Yes.
Talk to people. There's help there. Lifeline, people like yourself. I mean, counselling. Kerry's a counsellor. I mean, the list is this long of the things you do. Yeah. But it really is important, viewers, that you get this help. As I said today, Kerry didn't commit crimes. She had crimes committed against her, and she's brave enough to overcome it. And you found how to live. You didn't want to take your life, really, and so many people don't want to take their lives. And as I said a minute ago, that look of regret, it's just awful. Look at your story. Look at the great things you're doing, and you've mastered it, and you're kicking bums, and it's just fantastic.
Thank you, Maccas. And can I just add one thing?
Sure,
I say this all the time because I think it's something that people really need to hear.
Yep.
Especially people that are battling with shame.
Yep.
That despite what people earn, despite what they look like, despite what they do for a living, at the end of the day, when the lights go out and we're all alone, we're all the same.
Yep.
We're emotions in skin and we're all human.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it's not your fault either.
That's right.
It's not your
Yeah.
fault. And, you know, depending on what you believe in, you might never be alone. You know,
That's
as we were
right,
saying,
yeah.
if you found your faith, and
Yeah.
you might never be alone. So that was fantastic. Thank you so much, and
Thank
thank you
you.
coming down from lovely sunny the Sunshine Coast, beautiful
Thank you.
Queensland. We really appreciate it. Our third lady guest, number 60. Ooh, we finally got there just short of 4 years. That'll be 65 podcasts in total, but 60
Congratulations.
episodes.
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you. I've got to go and see what's left of my bank account, but not that much left. But no, we will continue on. We'll be back to the old school Aussie crime and time next week with Mr. Kerry. His voice has returned. He's doing well, and that's terrific. Can't thank you enough. Kerry Atherton, this was your show, number 60. Well done.
Thank you, Maccas.
And we're loving the colours and the bling. You look fantastic.
thank you.
Good on you. Thanks very much, Maccas.
Thank you, Maccas.
And thank you very much to our great supporters, Whitehall and Associates. Wonderful. We love you guys. Steve and the team, fantastic. We're going to get one of the girls in soon, and we'll do like a little infomercial so you don't have to continue listening to us. Thanks very much, everyone. That was 60. Back shortly for 61. Bye.